Good morning. Welcome once again, friends. This morning topic is the daily. Is the daily mentioned in Daniel 8:12? Is this daily a satanic power or a godly power? Because many, even in Adventism, believes that this daily is Christ's sanctuary ministry. Okay, so I'm going to read a few verses. Let the Bible speak for itself. The word is flesh, which is Christ. Excuse me. So allow him to explain himself, which is the word. He doesn't need our help. So I'm going to read a few scriptures. But before I read, the word sacrifice in Daniel 8:12 was added by man's wisdom. It wasn't originally a part of the scripture. It's during the translation of the Bible it was added by man's wisdom. The word of inspiration tells us that, and I will read a quote later on towards the end to explains that. By the Spirit, through the Spirit of prophecy, by the Spirit of prophecy, written by Ellen White. Okay, so I'm going to start with Daniel 8, and I'll try to summarize as I go along. This morning, rather, I'm not working with any notes. So I'm going to try to work from memory. So Daniel 8, verse 11. And I read, Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Okay. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And this prince of the host that he magnified himself to was Christ. Okay, so who was in power? Who was the world power at that time during Christ's time? This was none other than Rome. Not only Rome, pagan Rome. So the he that magnified himself was pagan Rome. And by him, now this him now, it's not pagan Rome. This him is the papacy. By him, the daily sacrifice was taken away. And this word taken away in Hebrew, used in the Hebrew, means lifted up or exalted, gadol, to lift up. So in other words, paganism was lifted up, meaning paganism was baptized and covertly introduced into the church and was lifted up. And it filtered down to the other churches because through the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church is the mother church, as she say. So it filtered down to the other churches. But of course, God have a remnant people, which is Seventh-day Adventists, and those who are faithful Seventh-day Adventists. It didn't filter. This falsehood didn't filter down to us. Okay, so paganism was exalted, lifted up, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And this sanctuary that was cast down, I believe, is paganism. So paganism was taken away, and papalism took the place, and the place of his sanctuary, the truth, was cast down. Did I say paganism? And the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Well, the truth was cast down. I beg your pardon if I had said paganism before, but the truth was cast down. I continue reading. Verse 12 rather. Daniel 8, that's where the 8 came from. Daniel 8, verse 12. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. So this host is an army, was given to the papacy against the daily sacrifice. After the daily sacrifice was taken away, church and state come together, and papacy received the army from the state, because they say at the time they were the character of heretics. You could do your history and find that these things are so. And it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered for 1260 years. Verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, one desolation, and the transgression of desolation, two desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? So verse 13 mentions two desolating powers. The transgression, where is it? The daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation. Let me read another verse which speaks about the two desolations. That gives you desolations. And it's Daniel 9, verse 26. And I read, And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. So there are two desolating powers, paganism and papalism. Paganism was taken away, exalted, baptized, and lifted up through the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, so verse 26, Daniel 9:26. It says, And 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, meaning crucified. And the people of the prince, the prince is Satan, and the people is Rome, pagan Rome. So the people of the prince, this prince here is Satan, that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. This was Jerusalem and the temple in AD 70. So after he was crucified, then they came and they destroyed the temple and Jerusalem. And the flood, it speaks about the flood also. And the end thereof shall be with a flood. So this flood now is persecution by the papacy. Flood is a symbol of persecution. And this was for the 1260 years during the Dark Ages. Okay, so it gives us desolations, the two desolations. And let's read Matthew 24. Matthew 24, verse 15, I think, through to verse 18. Where Christ speaks about desolation as well. Verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Verse 17, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Verse 18, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Okay, so Christ here speaking, and he was telling the disciples what will be the faith of the people, and also gives them sign. And I believe that the original original intent, he was speaking twofold, meaning he was speaking about the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple in AD 70, because here in verse 16 he mentioned flee to the mountains. And Titus surrounded Jerusalem in AD 66, and history proves this. And those who are faithful Christians, they fled to the mountain, because when they saw that sign, what he did was what the Roman army did. Titus, led by Titus, he surrounded them, Jerusalem, the city. But he pulled back. So when the Christians saw that, they fled. Right? Because that was a sign. So I believe that was the original intent, but also it's applicable to the end of the world as well. So here, this abomination spoken of, this abomination that Christ spoke of, abomination of desolation, this was pagan Rome, because pagan Rome, it was during the time of pagan Rome reign, when they were in power, when they took the city and destroyed the temple. And Daniel, I think Daniel spoke about the two desolating powers. I think it's in Daniel 8 verse 13. He spoke about the daily sacrifice and the transgression that make it desolate. Okay. I pray that was clear. Right, I hope I'm not leaving out anything, but that should be clear. Let me read a quote from the Spirit of Prophecy now. That was Bible. Let me read from the Spirit of Prophecy now. And it's early writings, page 74, last paragraph, leading into page 75. Okay. Then I saw in relation to the daily, Daniel 8:12, that the word sacrifice was supplied, as I explained before, the word sacrifice was supplied by man's wisdom and does not belong to the text, and that the Lord gave the correct view of it to those who gave the judgment our cry. And who gave the judgment our cry? It was William Miller, the Millerites. Okay, I read on. When union existed before 1844, nearly all were united on the correct view of the daily. But in the confusion since 1844, after 1844, other views have been embraced, and darkness and confusion have followed because of the other views. So, since the Millerites were the one that gave the judgment our cry, and the Lord gave them the correct view of the daily, what is the Millerites? What is our pioneer's view on the daily? Paganism. Henceforth, paganism, which is a satanic power, not a godly power. It is not Christ's sanctuary ministry. The daily, is paganism. I pray it was clear. I pray that someone received the light on this topic for tonight, for this morning. I keep saying tonight because I normally do it at nights. Forgive me. But if not, take it to the Lord in prayer. Don't forget to like and share the video with a friend. you may leave a comment at the bottom. Okay for now. Until next time, stay blessed. Love you.